For globalbooknetwork.tv, I'm Zach Feldman. Thanks so much for tuning in here on Global Book Network and on our YouTube channel. And joining us over the phone is a author, well, technically a poet. She has a new book out called Everyday Poems for Everyday People. It is Christina Colton Fox. Christina, thanks so much for joining me here on Global Book Network. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. It's great to talk to you, Zach.
It's great to have you on. Tell me all about Everyday Poems for Everyday People.
Well, I wrote the poem because I've loved poetry since I was a child, and I always read poetry and wrote it basically just for myself. And then what happened is I joined an adult group of poets, and we would meet once a week and share our poetry. And I enjoyed it so much. And I thought, well, I've been writing all these poems. Maybe I could put them in a book and people would like to read it. And as I talked about the book to people, I got responses like, well, I never read poetry, or I don't like poetry. I don't understand it. And I started thinking, it's true for a lot of the classic poets that wrote such beautiful poems. Sit there and kind of analyze the poem. Well, what is this poem really about? What is this author trying to say? And that's fine. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not putting down that in any way, shape, or form. But what I found out is that sometimes people just want a poem to be simple and easy to understand. So that was the purpose of me putting my poems together and writing the book. And there's over 100 poems in the book. And it has 6 different sections. So it's got poetry about several different subjects.
That's awesome. And what really got you into poetry in the first place?
I don't know. Maybe I was in school and I read some poems way back in elementary school. I would imagine it was that. Um, because in those days you actually did read poetry in school. I don't know if they do read it too much nowadays. They're so busy with the technology.
No, I think they still do. I think they still read poetry for sure.
Well, that's good to know.
So so when you're thinking of a poem, what is it that you go for first?
Usually the topic, like I think what I want to write about. And then I'll start writing the first sentence and another sentence, and then I decide if I want the poem to rhyme or not to rhyme. I have both types of poems in my book, rhyming poems and unrhyming poems. Uh, and then I just kind of let it come out, and then I'll look at it and read it later and change it and edit it and so forth until I get it the way I really like it.
That's awesome. This book is chock full of different poems in it too. Is there a specific one that you're really excited about in the book?
Well, it was funny. I was looking through the book and reading my poems again, and I was realizing there were several that I liked a lot that I wanted to read. And I was going to ask you if I could read maybe one or two
Yeah,
of the
of course. I'd love to
poems.
hear one of them. Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to put on my reading glasses so I can see what I'm doing. That would
Yes.
help. um, this one is called My Precious One, and it's a part of the Love Found section of the book.
Awesome.
It's called My Precious One. You're always with me. You're only a thought away from everything I do, my precious one. You begin my day, you end my night. All day long, I think of you. What are you doing now? What thoughts are in your mind? What problems are you facing today, my precious one? I look around my house and I see gifts you've given me over the years we've known each other. How could I forget you? How few and far between are true, close lifetime relationships, my precious one. I appreciate our love more than you know or can even imagine. I appreciate you for everything you are and for some of the things you are not. I will love you always, my precious one. I'm so happy that you are part of my life and so honored that you are my love. I am so blessed that I know you. Thank you, my precious one.
That's awesome. That was very cool.
I'm
Awesome.
glad you liked it.
Yes, that was a good one. I like that a lot. How did you come up with the different sections of the book too? Like how did you decide on what you were going to kind of categorize?
Right. Well, it was funny because I had books, I had poems that I had written on so many very different topics. So the 6 sections of the book are called Everyday Life, Love Found, Love Lost, Nature Shines, Self-Discovery, and Spirituality. And I figured those, with all those different topics, somebody could find at least one poem in the book that they might enjoy, you know?
Yeah, 100%. And it definitely comes through with that, on every page too, talking about all your poetry. This is your first published book too. How did that feel finally getting this out there?
Oh, it was very exciting. I couldn't believe it when it arrived in the mail. I said, my first book. I don't know if I'm going to write other books. I've thought of it. I don't know if they'd be poetry books, or I've been thinking of writing a memoir. Although nowadays everybody kind of writes memoirs, don't they? You
That's
know.
fair. Are you looking into writing a memoir next?
Yes, yes. I've started it, but I just need to get to work on it. I've been
Mhm.
procrastinating for a while.
That's awesome. Well, listen. Hopefully, one day you'll come out with that, and we'll definitely take a look at that as well. But for those who want to see more about the book, obviously they can go to Amazon. Everyday Poems for Everyday People by Christina Colton Fox. For those who are picking up the book today, what's the one thing you want them to get from the book? What's like the big expectation you want them to have when they read it?
Well, Well, I was about to read you a funny one, so that you'd see that people maybe could even relate to some of the poems that aren't so
Oh
serious.
no, I think I was gonna. Yeah, I mean, you could do that. Let me just set
I'll
that up
show
though.
you
Hold
my
on one
book.
second. Yeah, I see it. Here on. Before you do that, let me set it up first so we can
Okay.
edit it. Okay, here we go. Um, so for those who are picking up the book today, what's the one thing you want them to get from the book?
I want them to get a new love of poetry, and I want them to get self-confidence so that they can feel they can write their own poetry.
That's awesome. And yeah, obviously this book's filled with different types of poetry. One of them being comedy. Tell me about that.
Okay, this one I love. It's very short and to the point. It's called Delete, Delete. Delete, delete. Going through my email, junk, garbage, scam. Delete, delete. What a waste. Used to be junk mail, handful every day. Now it's thousands. Total waste emails. Every day, every night. Delete, delete. Wait, you sent me something I may actually not want to delete? Delete? Where is it? Lost it. Deleted it. Send it again. See how short that poem was? And yet, I bet most people could relate to it.
I love that. That's awesome. Well, Christina, seriously, thank you so much for joining me here on Global Book Network. It was a pleasure talking to you, and I'm excited for people to pick up the book. It's called Everyday Poems for Everyday People. Christina Colton Fox, thank you so much for joining me here, and best of luck with everything.
Thank you so much, Jake. It was a pleasure to speak with you.
Anytime. You've been listening to globalbooknetwork.tv. I'm Zach Feldman. Thanks so much for tuning in here on YouTube and on globalbooknetwork.tv. And you check out all the interviews here on YouTube and on our website. And we'll see you here next time for another author interview here on Global Book Network.